immediately forget about the fear. It may not be easy, it may not be fast, but you can absolutely do it. But find somebody that's gone through it. You want to find somebody that's really aligned with your personality and who can hold you accountable in the way that actually works for you, and get the kind of encouragement every day, if you need, that they can provide.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your host, Richard Coyne, and on today's show, we're so pleased to have Roger King with us. Roger, welcome.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining me here in lovely Puerto Rico.
Awesome. Roger, we appreciate you joining the Road Less Traveled Show. So, Roger, if you would, you're in Puerto Rico. Wow, that's pretty awesome. So, if you would, kind of go a little bit and tell me a little bit about your background, kind of what you used to do, and kind of, elaborate a little bit on that, please.
Sure. All growing up, I was really gearing my life towards being a famous rock drummer, and I'm not. Although I've got a lot of friends that are. I've seen some of the inner workings of that world, and as you grow up and you think you're going to be able to do all of this stuff, you're also paying attention to other things that are happening in your world. And I saw my father as a real estate investor. He transitioned from doing masonry work and stone fabrication to being a real estate investor kind of overnight back in 1980. But I'm still thinking, okay, I'm really getting into the band Rush and Journey and all this stuff in the early 80s. And I'm going to continue that path down the road. And I've done that for decades now. I've been a real estate investor, but also a professional musician, because I thought that there's always a way, but for a long time it was an either or thing. I am only a real estate investor and I can't be a drummer, or I'm only a drummer and I can't be a real estate investor. And for a long time I figured out how to do both. Fairly successfly. Yeah. It's been a crazy dichotomy of creative, emotional outlet versus, legal and business structures and, getting the contractors to do what they say they're going to do.
Right.
So it's been a fun path.
Okay. So being on a drummer, you're sitting on basically a drummer's stool right now, whereas I'm sitting in a business chair, right? I can just see you getting ready to go ahead and start hitting it. So
yeah, the drums are upstairs.
Gotcha. Got it. Cool.
Yeah. I still own 12 drum sets, right? Because, why not? There's more gear. I can always buy new gear.
That's right. That's pretty amazing. So very cool. So it sounds like you've had success in two worlds. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Very blessed.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. So, so maybe more to let's speak to the drumming world.
Sure.
Is there a funny story you can share? Something that happened to you?
I was thinking about that. I remember just being, maybe not funny, but sort of poignant, being a couple days after, or the day after Thanksgiving, I think in 2000, and I was in a band in Orlando, Florida at the time, and we were touring all over, and this was the neo swing craze, and I was in a band called Swingerhead, and we were touring in LA and California and San Francisco and area and stuff, but we'd also play up in New York, New Jersey, and I remember playing at the top of the World Trade Center. And sitting back in the corner, as the drummers often do, and the place is packed. And it's snowy, rainy, kind of miserable outside, but we're on the, 102nd floor, I think it was. And over to my left was the Statue of Liberty, and over to my right was the Empire State Building, and directly behind me was the other tower. Yeah. And feeling this thing moving back and forth while I'm playing. And, it was just one of those moments. And then having to break down and tear down the drum set and take it down a couple floors to the kitchen area, and seeing all the people working in there, and just really enjoying, being a part of something really, truly amazing. And I think that was the year 2000. So it was a fun time up there.
And 10 months later, it was gone.
Yeah. And Yeah. I
Wow.
mean,
Wow.
I'm not here to bring it down, but it was a
Yeah.
remarkable place
Yeah.
to play a few times. We played up
Yeah.
there a few times, and it was just great.
Well, I'll tell you what, and again, people don't realize that when you've got a building that is 1,000, 1,200, whatever it was, feet tall
Yeah.
in the air, it moves.
It was totally back and
It
forth. And I'm
moves
just like,
with the wind. And
yeah,
I I I I've been I haven't been, I didn't get a chance to go to the top of the World Trade Center. I've been up in tall buildings, but I don't know that I've really had the sensation of feeling something move. Wow.
yeah,
That
it
had to
was
be just
weird.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a sense of, there's a bit of fear, but you
Hmm.
also think, okay, this is what 2000. So it's been around since the
Yeah.
mid late 70s.
Yeah.
They've experienced this for decades.
Right.
So it must be okay.
Yeah.
And, they had to build that sway into the
Yeah.
engineering and
Right.
construction of it all. So it's like, these guys have to understand some mathematics.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm playing drums.
There you go. There you go. So, as you kind of talked about a little bit, you saw your dad in real estate investing, and is that kind of why you wanted to sort of dual path things as well? Were you seeing that there were possibilities in real estate, or was it that you kind of thought to yourself, okay, I'm gonna have two threads here, just in case one doesn't work out? Was that sort of what was your thinking?
No, it's so interesting because my brain was like, I am going to be a professional drummer. I'm going to tour the world. And I saw my dad doing this, and I
Hmm.
realized at college, I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Hmm.
I realized that, I'm not as good as some of these other guys I'm in school with.
Okay.
They've got, a decade experience above me, and they're 4 years younger than me. They're some famous guys that are still touring at the top of the world. Were there when I was there, and we're all friends and everything. But I could see that there's definitely a distinction between their abilities and mine.
Yeah.
And you start to think about, okay, so what else is there available to me if I don't get the tour or I don't join a band?
Hmm.
And so in about 1995, I had sort of gone through the programs that were there, and I needed to make some money. And my father and I were talking about real estate. I'd listened to a Carlton Sheets course, I guess the summer before. And I said, Dad, I think I want to move to Orlando and start a real estate investment company with you. And my brother-in-law at the time was getting out of the Army. He had a newborn, and we all converged into Orlando. And I thought, okay, so let's do this. And at the same time, I'm going to go around Orlando and meet the musicians, because I want to do both, because this is, why not? Yeah. And I attempted to do both for a while, and my business stuff suffered. So I left the company and then went out on the road and toured full time for a few years with that band Swingerhead. And so I did have to make a choice after a little while. And then after moving to California, I realized that I don't actually have to make the choice. I can still do both. And, worked very hard at like, okay, at 5 o'clock, I'm going to pack up my gear and not take any more phone calls. And then, it was just a matter of really understanding how to schedule that, but also how to convert the stuff in my brain, shut off one side, open up the other side, and not, not party too much the night before, so I could wake up at 8 o'clock and kind of get back to work.
Right, right. So what kind of real estate were you doing, and are you still doing that type, or sort of have you evolved in real estate? What do you do?
Yeah, there's been evolutions every couple of years, just as the market cycles change.
Yeah.
At the time, I was doing a lot of private lending and wholesaling, and so I would, put the bandit signs up, and I would, put a property under contract and then wholesale the contract to somebody else, make a fee, and then just be done with that project and do it again.
Yeah.
And then I started to say, how can I generate some ongoing cash flow? And so I started private lending, and I would raise capital with investors. And then after a while, watching all the people that I was loaning money to make, extremely high profits, I thought, I want to get into this business. So let's partner with those people. And I can control the outcomes of the projects better. And then after a while, I decided, the fix and flip model is going to die. Let's go into mobile home parks, which is really where I am most of my time right now. I'd say 85% of my time. So gotcha. my partner Brandon and I, we own 14 mobile home parks right now, scattered throughout the country.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you obviously have on-site management to take care of those because you're not there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'm not an on-site manager person. I know my skills. I know how I want to invest my time. And my job really with that stuff is raising capital, structuring the entities, making sure that our investors are getting paid and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Brandon does the on-site management of everything, hiring contractors, managers, et cetera.
Okay. Gotcha. So kind of once you decided to, maybe more recently, going into mobile home parks, maybe that's the place to kind of answer this question. But, as you were kind of initially, going from some of the previous real estate stuff you did into this, what were some obstacles you had overcome around getting into the mobile home parks?
I think one of the biggest obstacles is just the mindset. How do you transition from a business that is, buying a house, fixing it up and selling it, very transactional, into we're going to buy a property and hold on to it for 3 to 5 to 7 years. And, it's going to take there's always a curve of, time, energy, and capital into a project. And then, at some point you can refinance that capital, you can refinance your time, it's less time intensive. And so understanding that, understanding the structure for an investor and saying, look, we can't pay you the 11 or 12% cash for a 6-month project because this is now a 3 to 5 year hold. We're going to have to reorganize that, and bringing those investors down that path of saying, this is better because you're going to get equity.
Right.
And then making sure everybody's brain is kind of configured differently than what it was, when you were just doing, 10 deals a month, flipping houses. This is 4 properties a year that we're going to fix and flip the mobile home parks.
Right. It's a long-term flip. It's a 5-year flip. It's not a 2-month flip or 3-month.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. So it's a very different mindset for that. And I think that's the biggest trick, not only in my book, but probably for investors.
Okay. Gotcha. So maybe again, along the lines of the mobile home park. So what was your first victory that kind of said, yes, this is a vehicle that's going to really work?
Well, I think when we bought our first mobile home park, was good. I think we made a couple of mistakes, as most people do on their first endeavor in a new sector, that we figured it out. We pulled it together. But then the second one has become, and we sold that one last year. The second one we bought over in Kentucky has just been phenomenal. It's better placed. There's higher demand. There's an entire 63 lots that are deeded there, but we haven't even filled those in yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's like phase 2 of that whole property. And as soon as we do that, then this, everything with that particular park is so different than the first park we bought. And of course, we've grown and changed how we underwrite everything based on, what we've been learning over the last 6 years.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Excellent. So, is there a funny mobile home park story that you could share?
There's a dozen, aside from walking into an old mobile home and finding, have you ever seen those raised bathtubs? They've got steps going up into the bathtub from the early 80s.
Yeah.
Having carpet around those, shag carpet, that was a thing. I hadn't seen that before. But I think the biggest thing was, we bought our first property in Oklahoma, had a sewer lagoon. And that's essentially where all the human waste and everything, sewage goes into a big 4.5 acre lake that, evaporates and all this stuff settles and, eventually gets, taken away. And just having that kind of concept of the idea of this sort of stuff moving into a lake and people are okay with that sort of process. Like nobody necessarily thinks of it. I'm like, it's kind of gross to me. Yeah. And, there's some environmental aspects of that, but 50 years ago, 40 years ago, that was not a big problem. And just thinking about how somebody thinks through this stuff, and that it becomes a solution for them when they're, planning all these things out. It just, the ahas are just, for me, they're pretty amazing.
Yeah. The concept people are also probably familiar with is the idea of a septic tank. And, if you know how that works, that's kind of gross itself in and of itself. But the idea that you just described is actually even worse to me. But
yeah, it's gross.
I like city sewer.
Yeah, I like for a business underwriting aspect of it, it's city sewer and water, as much as we can. Sometimes a septic tank, but never again a sewer lagoon.
Oof, just wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So, so Roger, where are you on your journey today? What do you see the future? Are you continuing down the mobile home park path? What do you see?
Yeah, I see that that's a really great sector right now. I think it's getting a little overpriced. I think last year, when the interest rates, the last 2 years, when the interest rates really started to go a little crazy, I think that the pricing slowed a bit in terms of pricing increases. I think that it's a needed feature in our society, affordable housing. And the business model itself, there's 44,000 mobile home parks throughout the U.S. And I've heard from some other friends that are trying to develop them, that the municipalities still are very hesitant to allow new mobile home park development.
Right.
And that's a tax issue, right? The property tax on a piece of land that's getting rented is very different than a piece of property with an actual structure on it. So I get that. So, are we going to figure out a way to grow our affordable housing in our country even more? That's a concern. What about the senior housing aspect of it? I think that's an interesting thing I'm interested in doing. I started late last year. I finally opened up a membership group and a coaching group that I help people start investing in real estate, because I've been doing this is my 28th year. Since I started in 1996. How do you buy your first house? How do you buy, your 50th house? How do you scale from, doing 3 deals a year into 25 deals a year?
Yeah.
I've already gone through all that stuff. I've already learned those lessons. Or, even the beginner, the person that's thinking, I want to start investing in real estate. How do I buy my first? And so I've really, taken about 4.5 years to conceptualize it, to write it. Thankfully, COVID allowed me time to write this stuff out and teach these things. And so that's another avenue that I'm really pushing these next few years.
Nice. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And again, it is a ridiculous situation, like you said. So, everybody knows we need more affordable housing. Oh, but no, well, you can't build mobile home parks. That's affordable housing. Oh, well, you could do an accessory dwelling unit behind your house, but we're not going to do anything to increase the infrastructure for roads, for all the additional traffic. Right. So it is. I get it. I'm not in city government. I don't want to be in city or county government. But again, these aren't easy problems to solve. But at the same point in time, you're right. There are a lot of mobile home parks, but they're very difficult to build new ones. And just the way the laws are and the way the tax, they want the tax money. You're right. That's a lot of what it is. So, wow.
These are not simple solutions. To these national problems that we have. And I'm just talking our national problems.
Right.
You look in India. They've got their problems. China, obviously, they've got their problems. But focused on the U.S., we have to be aware that a simple solution is not necessarily going to solve the problem. Somebody can go online and say, well, and like I just did a Instagram thing the other day where Grant Cardone was saying, it's because, inflation's because of the $1,400 checks you guys, bought boats with. And I'm like, that's such a it doesn't help us as a society to have those little sound bites when they don't encapsulate the entire problem that we have. And we have to start thinking in greater complexity, I think, to how to solve these problems. And people are, wanting that 8-second solution. And we just don't live in that society where 8 seconds is going to solve the problem of affordable housing or senior housing or homelessness or all those things. So, not to get too serious about it, but I think that, the more people can start to really dive in and think deeply on, what are the problems that our country faces, we're going to have a much better set of people running our country. Yeah. It's not just the quick solutions. It's the depth of thought on how to solve it, not a political strategy. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So well said. So Roger, is there something you do personally or perhaps through your business that you can mention that you do to give back and help others in some way?
Yeah. It's been interesting, having moved to Puerto Rico about a year and a half ago. I think it took me about 8 months to kind of transition my life and my brain and the sort of the circadian rhythms of my world. And I've not been able to pursue some of the other things that I want to do. Music education obviously is a big important part, and I've got some inroads to that here, and that's where I'm going to start focusing later on. I've got some things that I'm finishing up here and getting settled, but focusing on some music education for some people that have been, certainly less advantaged than I. I also, I've fallen in love with animals again over the last 3 years since I've gotten my dog Daisy. And I want to figure out some ways to help. There's 500,000 stray dogs here on the island. And it's a real challenge. And I want to pursue, what are some things that we can do here on the island just to help the stray dogs? There's some really good organizations, going out and spending some time with those. I'm looking forward to being able to invest more time into those two groups right there.
Yeah, that's great. That's 500,000 just in Puerto Rico itself.
Holy and that's moly. Just dogs. I mean, there's stray cats that are. Wow. Yeah, it's a tricky situation. Seriously. Wow. Yeah.
So, Roger, is there something you've recently implemented to help you grow your business?
To grow the business, yes. I have. I think that my personal health is the foundation for my business. And over the last, obviously the last couple of weeks with the New Year's kicking off, I've reinvigorated my workouts. I've signed up for a couple of different programs to really get back onto track, let's say. So, eating and exercise and how to really invest more of that time into it, because the clearer brain I have, the better I can focus on what are my issues and how to schedule those things, and just have a better sense of wellness about it all.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Roger, what advice would you share with somebody who's considering making a path change?
Just immediately forget about the fear. You can do it. You just can. It may not be easy. It may not be fast, but you can absolutely do it. I think finding a mentor, somebody that's gone down that path, I think that would be critical. And, when I say find a mentor, I don't mean somebody that just online that says, hey, you can do it and, rah, 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 but find somebody that's gone through it and that is aligned with your personality type. Some people, if you do an NLP, you understand that some people are very moving towards people and some people are very moving away from people. So finding a common type of person, that I think that is a really important tool. If they are encouraging and nourishing, that's one type of mentor. Another is like, get to work and you got to do this or you suck. That's a real negative kind of person. You want to find somebody that's really aligned with your personality and who can hold you accountable in the way that actually works for you, not just, not just somebody who's going to beat you, beat you up and make you feel bad that you're not kicking ass all the time, right? It doesn't make sense to just hire the wrong person. So I would say find a mentor, find out how they've done it, make sure that they're aligned with you, and get the kind of encouragement every day if you need that they can provide.
Nice. Good. Yeah. There's an expression, I can't remember who said it. It was basically, it's great to learn from your mistakes, but I'd rather learn from the mistakes of others.
Yes, I totally love that.
There you go. Take
absolutely.
that, again, somebody's been down that path. Somebody has done what you're trying to do, and again,
it's
great.
So important.
There are some people who come up with a brand new idea and that's never been done before and make it happen and go for it. Absolutely. But at the same point in time, there's plenty of stuff that's a successful pattern out there that you can emulate and repeat.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've been in the Tony Robbins world. I think I did my first fire walk in 1998. And I love all of Tony's stuff, and I've heard it a lot. And so I think I've built some, I won't call it resistance, but I understand where some of my lower enthusiasm is. So I find somebody new, and somebody that I'm enjoying right now is Brendon Burchard. I've got his Growth Day app, and I think he's fantastic. I think that he and other people can help guide you and help you rewire the brain and maybe even rewire your personality so that you can believe again that you can achieve whatever it is you want. I really honestly believe that.
All right. Excellent. So Roger, what's the best way for folks to reach out to find out more about what you're up to?
Sure. I've got an email list that I send out weekly emails, rogerking.com. You can sign up for it there. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on, all the social. So I think in your links, you're going to have, you'll have my links. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help guide anybody or give feedback or whatever somebody might need.
Excellent. Well, good. Well, Roger, we want to thank you for being on the Red List Travel Show. Certainly appreciate your time.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So again, thanks listeners for tuning in. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like I showed today with Roger King. And also please feel free to reach out to myself or over at parkcapitalpartnersllc.com, parkcapitalpartnersllc.com. Be glad to tell you about a couple things we have going. First, we have the Park Capital Partners Value Add Fund, which is a 506c fund open today to accredited investors. Second, we have the Park Capital Partners Foundation, which is a 501(c) nonprofit foundation created to help others. And the way that works quickly is first, Bill and I fund the operations of that foundation. So all the work donated goes to do its best work, which is to help others. Second, we donate corporately. Third, we donate personally. And finally, when investors invest with us, we make a donation to honor that investor to a pre-selected list of 15 different charities, including the ASPCA, to help analysts. So please reach out, parkcapitalpartnersllc.com. Thanks, folks. And remember, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.